Okay, so for most parents, the form's straightforward. You just tick male or female as you normally would. For a very small minority of parents, they have children who are struggling with their gender identity. It's really important that they can access our schools safely, get their education like anyone else, and feel fine about that. So all we've done is put a guidance note on there for the families that applies to.
You say it's a very small number. I mean, are you able to give us any greater guidance on this? How many families is this affecting in the Brighton and Hove area?
It affects a handful of families, especially at that age group, but it also affects families, I'd like to stress, all over the country. It's not just a Brighton and Hove thing. We need to fulfil our equalities duties, which means that everybody can access all of our council services. Everybody pays their council tax, and they all deserve to have the same fair service from us.
So I'm just wondering what practical difference it will make to the schools, what information these forms provide. If for example, there's a child who was born a boy with male genitals but considers himself at the age of 4 to be a girl, what difference will that mean in the school? Will he, for example, be using the girls' loos or the boys' loos?
I think that talking about toilets is what everyone always wants to do when we talk about trans issues, but what I'd like to remind people is that many children who this has affected have actually been in serious risk of self-harm, and the main issue is that they are addressed by other people in the gender that they identify with, and they're then able to access their school learning in a safe and relaxed environment.
At the age of 5, you're suggesting children are self-harming at the age of 5 because of gender identity issues?
Well, it's interesting because the Telegraph ran this story today, but I researched on their website and looked back over a story about a child from a northern council, and they had run the story about how horrific it was for that child at primary school because their council hadn't ensured that they were properly looked after, and they were calling for councils to be more trans inclusive. And so if any other councils want to come and talk to us about how to make sure that all children are safe in their schools, then please do that. We'd welcome that.
You don't want to talk about toilets, but I really do. How can a school be trans inclusive to a 5-year-old child who may feel they're trapped in the wrong body?
I think, as I said, I would stress that being addressed as the right gender is important for that child, for them, as they feel. And I would also say that the biggest risk to those children is bullying and prejudice. So for us and for me, my focus is less about toilet breaks, which can be taken at any time. So they could use either toilet on their own if necessary, although I'm sure it's not always necessary, but if that provides them with the dignity they need. But I think what's more important is that that child is safe from harm.
What about single-sex schools? Do you think if a child identifies with being a different gender, they should be allowed to go to the school, a single-sex school of the gender they were born in or the gender they identify with?
It's not an issue for us, so I haven't given the question any thought.
OK. Emma Daniel, Head of Brighton's Equalities Committee. Good to talk to you. Thank you.